We're turning our attention now to another conversation making the rounds in the country about, it's equally about doing things right and ensuring that systems work, but this is on a larger scale as well, talking about the political structure. You know that question they talk about restructuring? Well, that's part of it. This morning we have Dr. Unman Bugaje, who happens to be the convener of Arewa Research and Development Project, that's the ARDP. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, sometime in 27, all right, we saw some perspectives of yours about how, you know, the northern region or the north is going to come up with research, predicating it on getting academics, people making contributions, and coming up with a position. This was as far back as 2017. What is the latest perspective on that now? Have that happened yet? What's going on with that?
Well, it's a continuous business. It's not going to stop because, I mean, you have to continue learning and making knowledge to drive whatever decisions you make. So research is a continuous business, and we are constantly reading, learning, engaging, so that we can come up with the best that can possibly be available. So on this matter of restructuring, recently it has also come up on the radar, and there are a lot of ideas coming. And I think it's healthy for the nation to engage in discussions. My only worry is that too often the discussions that, or the conversations we hold are not driven by knowledge. They are driven usually by ignorance, driven by sentiments, and this doesn't help matters. It often creates a lot of misunderstanding, confusion, and sometimes it leads to conflict. So I think we need to first make sure that our conversation is driven by clarity, accuracy, and precision. This is, one important way to make things really work, especially conversations. I do also worry that too often, maybe because of our poor education and what our education institutions have become, many people who should be informed don't appear to be informed. And because of this, we're not able to distinguish between knowledge and opinion. Knowledge is what has been established by facts. Opinions are interpretations, understandings of individuals. Opinions can be knowledge, but they have to be verified, they have to be authenticated and documented. So this kind of process is what the Arewa Research and Development Project that I work with tries to do, bring in knowledge so that knowledge will drive conversation, will drive whatever decisions we take. We also realize that at the political level, there is also lack of proper understanding of what, maybe because of the quality or lack of it, as it were, of the kind of people who go into politics. Many, political actors, when you try to engage them, they run into their ethnic shells, to begin to bring out. They cannot really engage because most of them don't seem to realize that governance in the 21st century is a corporate scientific business. You have to plan, you have to do monitoring and evaluation, you have to constantly evaluate yourself, and you have to have key performance indicators. And because all this is missing, our national conversations are very murky. They do not quite lead to much because too often it becomes the proverbial dialogue of the deaf. You are talking about one thing and others are talking about a different thing. So those of us who try to engage the political institutions are sometimes seen as the enemy of the state, partly because those on the other side don't even understand what you're talking about, and partly because they are there not so much to bring about development, but to basically enrich themselves, basically self-aggrandizement. They enjoy the limelight and the perks of office, but they forget about that comes with responsibility. They ignore that responsibility, and partly this is why we have not been able to make much progress. The last 20 years, as we know too well, with all the resources, unimaginable, inconceivable amount of resources that have accrued through oil and through other sources of our revenue, yet our poverty actually more than doubled. And we are about to be the poverty capital of the world. And this is not because we lack the resources to enrich and to improve on the quality of life of our people, but because we lack the leadership, because our political actors don't even understand governance in the 21st century, and because our recruitment mechanism, the leadership recruitment process in the political parties does not prioritize competence. And we end up with people who don't even understand why they are there. And therefore, all they see is the resources for them to simply indulge in the kind of thing that they do. And because of this, we have not made much progress. So I think these are issues that we need to alert citizens.
All right, but Dr. Bugaje,
engage the political institutions and to revisit, just one moment.
All right.
We need to revisit the fact that leadership is not just issue of eligibility. We have to consider suitability, because most of the people in political offices have come simply because they are eligible by the Constitution. And they put the bar so low that if you have a secondary school certificate or an equivalent, whatever that means, and quite a number of them don't even have secondary school certificates. Some of their certificates are missing. We don't know where they are. But the fact that you do not consider suitability, which is competence, this is why this country is going down the drain. Nothing is working.
But as it is now, that leadership recruitment process question is huge, and it is not a challenge that can be addressed immediately. I stand corrected. But those who are agitating or having one call or the other want things to be done now. Now, at the political level, they may argue equally, saying, look, we've put in place certain things. We have fulfilled certain promises, but people don't seem to see them because they're looking the other way, rightly or wrongly. How do we converge, get everyone to a table and have that conversation?
There are two issues here.
Yeah.
You did say that you think it's a huge issue that cannot be tackled now. I disagree. I think it's a huge issue. I agree with you that much. But I think it is something that has to be tackled immediately. Because if we don't tackle competence, what you're basically saying is that you are prepared to go on the road of incompetence. And that is exactly what has brought us to the brinks. So we have to pull back and create a premium for leadership. Make sure that people don't come into office simply because they are eligible by the Constitution. No, they have to be matched for what responsibilities they are going to hold. Just like you do here in channels. If you are going to employ a news manager, for example, you often, I think, advertise. When you advertise, people apply, they send their CVs, you have interviews by, experts who will be able to figure out whether the person actually knows how to do the work or not. Now, if you can do that for channels, why can't you do that for the whole country? It's even more important because lives of people are on the line. Look at our roads. Look at our hospitals. Look at our schools. Look at anything in this country. It's going down the drain, not because the resources are not there. Countries with far less resources, our neighbors, Niger, Ghana, so many other African countries have done far better than we are doing with the resources
what I
that
meant,
we have.
what
so
I meant
think
was
the issue of leadership recruitment process is a huge issue, but it has to be, taken care immediately. We have to put
what I meant was that
for
I was
leadership.
actually following up on your submissions about the requirements as stipulated in the Constitution, which needed to be amended if it had to change. So I was talking about the process that are required compared to those agitating who want it now. So it is in that context that I was talking about now.
Okay, I understand. Now, I think the second point you made is about the, if I remember correctly, about the restructuring, isn't it?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I
Yes,
get
it
you
is.
right.
It is. You're right. Go
Now,
ahead, sir.
restructuring is one of these examples of where a simple matter has been made unnecessarily complicated because it's not driven by knowledge. Restructuring has been taking place from the day that this country was put together in 1914. If you look at the Clifford Constitution, if you look at the Richard Constitution, the Macpherson Constitution, between 1922 to 1951, these constitutions were basically evolving the political structures of this country. They were changing, they were evolving to fit in with the requirements that were seen to be best at that particular time. Subsequently, we had the Littleton Constitution, if I remember correctly, in 1954, that actually started giving shape to the federation, where the federating units then were regions, the northern region, the western region, the eastern region, were coming together to see how they can form a federation. And these were the federating units, and they ceded part of their sovereignty, part of their resources to create a federation until we got to 1960 at independence, and the 1963 Constitution, which is even, for me, one of the best constitutions we've had so far, is one in which, the regions were contributing money to support the federal structure, and they were negotiating time and again. And this is why the prime minister, who was the leader of his party of the northern region, did not even bother to become the premier for northern region did not even bother to become the premier. There was nothing more so attractive about the federal government. It was a way of keeping, and the basic things that united the federation was issues of security, issues of foreign affairs, issues of monetary policies, and of course a few regulatory institutions at the federal level.
All right.
And I think this is what we should be getting back to. So, but the point is, restructuring is not a new issue. We have been evolving. Even the development from the 3 regions to the 4 regions where the Midwest was created, and later on the states were created, it's all part of restructuring. We are always restructuring. We had OMPADEC. Later on, we had Niger Delta Commission. Later on, we had Ministry for Niger Delta. This is also restructuring. We are trying to make
Bugaje,
adjustments to fit in with what our times demand. So this is a normal process. It's not like you are asking for something. But I know the impression is sometimes created that people in the North don't like restructuring. This is far from the truth. There are people from the North who are holding political offices who may not want restructuring to be discussed. But I think this is why, I think because they are ignorant. They don't represent.
Well, Dr. Bugaje, the thing is, just as it is in every democracy,
this is a welcome idea. It should be done.
Ideas have got to contend. It's normal. People have got to express themselves and talk about some of these things. But clearly here, we need to have an elaborate conversation on that matter. And as such, we will get across to you subsequently. But today, we do really thank you for your time this morning.
I thank you also for having me on this show.